about the Discord where all of this information is being shared right now.
Yeah, you had questions about the Drakkenberg thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were talking about, I don't even know how it started. Oh, we were talking about like weird synchronicities happening to people in the Tartary. And then I was saying that I've been researching these bloodlines and I feel like it's connected because, okay, the whole Drakkenberg thing, I don't know how much you know about it, but basically it's these, they think that it's a bloodline that connects all the way back to like the Anunnaki or Tiamat, like, it's like a type of blood type. But what they're basically saying is that these people, there was something about them that they like were able to unlock their through like blood ritual, blood magic, but not like what we think nowadays, which is vampirism. It's like sex magic, like Gnostic kind of stuff, where you're consensually like doing this thing together to like mutate or grow, evolve, you know. And so it's like a bloodline coming back from way, who knows when, before the flood probably. And so it's these people that have this natural genetic marker, and then over the generations, they were wherever they were, in their society, whatever culture and race, because it's not just one race. It seems that every race, every culture has these bloodlines. Wherever they were genetically more like, um they just had their shit together more, or they were like more open, they were more intuitive, whatever it was. People naturally gravitated to them as leaders for their group. And so they became, over generations, they became a bloodline of leaders, of kingship, of nobility. But it's not like the nobility that we think of now, because they actually usurped, they overthrew them. And I think that's connected to the Tartary, because there's a lot of correlations there, that it seems that they were all about, like, you know, sovereignty and growing and helping each other. And they were noble, like it seems like they were noble, and then they were overthrown by like the church or what, the, you know, whatever. And so there's like these two bloodlines. There's like the noble bloodline that we see now, that's like pedophiles and like all this crazy, because they don't actually have the blood, they don't have the noble blood. They're just like taking, they're just usurping the throne of the leadership, but they're not doing anything good with it, so nothing good comes from it. And the people that actually have the royal bloodline are, could be just anybody, like, and I feel like everybody that's in the Tartary is some way or another, I think, has like this draconian bloodline. Because why else would we all come together and try to like learn all these things and be conscious and awake? And so I just think it's all interconnected like that.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Akashic genetic memory.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, and it's everybody, you know, like Native American, Hawaiian, Asian, Black, whites, everybody has, some people inherited this. Yeah.
So do you, sorry. So do you think that there's a possibility, if we can track our inheritance, our names, our bloodline, that we might all have a connection that links back somewhere, and that what maybe the church and you know, all the religions really identify as the evil or the demonic side or the devil or Satan or Satanists or whatever, they figured out how to, what was going on, and then they wanted control, and so they took the power, and they've been continuously keeping down this bloodline,
Yeah,
tracking
Yeah.
it down.
I think it goes back to the
but
axiom of know
in
thyself.
the Nicholas DeVere book that I posted a few screenshots of, were you reading that, where he was explaining the overthrowing?
No, no, this is just I'm new to
Literally
the
says
Tartary.
that
I'm new to
in the
this.
book. Like, he actually says like, oh, in so and so year, it was this dude and his mom that altered their genealogy so that they could claim the throne, and then they overthrew like the actual DeVere, like the actual draconian line. Like he actually says that that's true.
Do they believe in like a Melchizedek or a Messiah character that's going to come at a certain?
I think what they believe is that that's just one of the predecessors. That's one of the part of the, but it's like everybody that has that genetic disposition can be Christ-like, can be noble. Like all of us, we all have that. We and anybody can, really, anybody. It doesn't matter if you have this draconian bloodline or not. It's just that we have a disposition because we have like an inheritance of people doing that in our blood of
Yeah, so it
choosing the higher self over the lower vibration, you know. We're
yeah.
just more connected to that through our blood.
And see, and that's why I brought up Rayon de Ruin before, because it's a physical and energetic thing, and you have to actually be properly be taking care of your body to kind of hack your genetic in this way, to kind of backtrack and get a hold of this energetically, because your physical form has to be able to hold a certain wattage to be able to do these things. And if your body can't hold that wattage, you're going to be blocked from getting access.
Exactly. And some of these draconian people are not doing that. And so they're using their blood, like when they're doing sex abuse and child, like, you know, like they're doing that dark magic shit. They become vampiric in this different way where they're constantly having to keep up their life force through taking life force from others because they're not generating their own.
That's like they really are making themselves vampiric, because whatever you reiterate to your body in this way, you're training it. You're training it to stop making its own energy and to need to take just to survive. That's it. Well, that's fucked up.
That's why they take adrenochrome and they make them fearful so that they can harvest the highest content of adrenochrome because they're addicted to it. Their body is literally dependent on that life force.
And so it's probably possible to hit a point where you literally can't survive without either the adrenochrome or the vampiric nature of taking from others.
Yeah, and that's why their alchemy doesn't make sense. Like none of the shit that they're doing makes any sense because it's not based on nature anymore. It's disharmonic. They squared the circles so much that they only have like a little fraction left now. And they're freaking out because they know that their time is up. And the whole era of Aquarius is coming through. Like everything is pointing to this point. And that's basically what the Bible has been talking about. It's just coding for that, for this shift. Like, you know, there's only so much you can do in that direction. At least that's how I see it. Because that you're coming from a point of death. You're coming from necrosis, like the opposite of life. So there's only so far you can go in that direction before it will devour you, completely consume you.
What do you guys think of the greatest conjunction? You guys know anything about?
Like you're talking about the Saturn Jupiter conjunction?
Yeah, but the greatest, not just a great.
I don't know. First I heard of it.
Or conjunction of what exactly?
So Saturn and Jupiter conjunct every 20 years, but there's a greatest conjunction, which is the conjunction that happens about every 2000. So the previous one was 7 BC, and people believe that was a Star of Bethlehem that was ushering in the Melchizedek or Messiah character that was going to begin the new era, which was Pisces. And we had another one happen in 1980, 1981. The conjunctions, it's a triple conjunction, and it happens in opposition to where the sun rises. So it's on the opposite side. That's what makes it a greatest conjunction. What happens is like it'll come about, and then about 30 to 40 years later, it's 40 years later, but something will happen within that 40-year span that will make it kick off. So the next one that is important is the one that actually goes into the next era. So the one that happened in 7 BC was on the cusp. That was entering us into the era of Pisces, which happened 40 years later. Same one, 1980, was at the cusp that was entering us, ushering us into the age of Aquarius, which is going to happen right now in the 2020 conjunctions.
So there's one coming up in 2020?
Yeah, this is the one that's going to actually push us into Aquarius. We've been on the cusp of Aquarius, and that's why the whole Age of Aquarius thing was all happening, even back in the 70s or whatever. It's
Hmm.
because we were entering into the cusp period. Some people say the cusp even goes back to early 1900s, and it was entering us into this cusp period, and now we're finally completely going to click into it in 2020.
I heard that too.
What part of the year? What part of the year is it happening in? Do you know?
December 21st is the first conjunction. There's three conjunctions that happen. Every time these conjunctions happen, there's three of them that happen. So the first one's going to be in December 21st, 2020. So the end of next year. So we're almost a year away from it. And then the
Ah,
final one, I think, happens at the end or the beginning of 2020.
man, next year is going to be so lit. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, there's gonna be some crazy times we're gonna be seeing. Everything.
Sorry, they're considered the great chronocrators. If you look up the great chronocraters, it's Jupiter and Saturn, and Jupiter brings about the new social order, and Saturn will make it solid. Saturn
Oh
will
my God.
judge us and then make it solid.
Happening in Capricorn, which is government, and it's cardinal Earth, the Most High. So think about that too. So it's gonna be major, like
Oh my
all of
God.
us.
This year went by in literally half the time. So if there's going to be a conjunction next year from one of the great chrono creators, then how fast is next year going to go by?
Yeah, it should bring about a whole new way. I mean, that's why I think all this is happening. The reason we're talking, people are starting to communicate, the
Mhm.
internet, all this is in relationship to this time period to come. All these things come on the cusp of it. They're all entering in new elements of it, and then it's going to solidify by the time at the end of the
That
last
reminds
conjunction.
me, there's this astrologer, this old dude. Oh God, I wish I could find the video. But he was saying that he's been studying births, just like children's births over the decades. And he's talking about that conjunction you speak of. And yeah, he said all the children born around like the 1980s up to like mid 1990s are born with a specific blueprint, deeply Saturnian, deeply like conservative, not in like the Trump way, but conservative as in like, you save your crops for next season, kind of conservative. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, practical.
Yeah. So no, there's like an actual, you can actually track the souls that are coming into the earth that are naturally imprinted with that conjunction.
Yeah,
And
we're
so
we're we're a generation of a specific energy.
Yeah.
exactly. In this next conjunction, all the kids that were born in the 80s, it's going to be their turn. Like they've been working on something, whatever it is, for 30 years. And now they're all at this point where the next phase is going to come into play. They're actually going to have their moment to put it into play.
It's our turn to ride the dragon. We will become the dragon.
Exactly. Recent Tartary.
That's awesome.
I shit you not. I think it's connected with the Tartary. I think this, yeah, Tartaria was definitely a part of this Drakkenberg thing. Someone posted this photo, this image, and a lot of those bloodline, like the cross of the Maltese cross, like the Knights Templar, like that's all Drakkenberg kind of Tartaria kind of people that have been fighting against the oppression kind of thing. Whoever posted this, like kudos.
You guys know about the Amaru snake, right? The dragon that America is named.
No, actually, I've heard something about. There's been like some speculation about the various reasons were given for why America is named America.
Well, yeah, I mean it's not. I don't think it's something that's written down as solid that there's absolute proof of it, but it's one of the ideas that it's possibly named that they always knew that they were looking for the land of the dragon, and that you'll see the dragon is named Can, or it's a snake, or it's a lizard, or a reptile, sort of thing in the Mayan and Aztecs. they call it can,
Yeah.
and that's why we
Like
have
the mound builders.
like the Vatican is also the snake, right? The can part, it's the divining snake. Vata means divining, and then the can means snake, or it's the dragon. So the to be American is to be a part of the Amaru dragon, right? So
Oh,
the
like
Maru
the
can.
Canaanites, maybe.
It's probably all related.
It's totally okay. Let me send you guys a link to one of the Drakkenberg websites where they go all the way from the beginning, the mother Tiamat, all the way to the like connect Scythians, the Canaanites, Atlantis, Lemuria, all of that.
Oh wait, I heard someone talking about how Atlantis was actually founded from the Martian refugees from the explosion of Tiamat, and when Mars was like destroyed, some of them, escaped here, and that's how the whole Atlantean civilization founded. Is that ties into?
I think that it's all connected somehow, and it's just hard to verify because it's such ancient information. It's like the only way to really figure that out would be to go into the records, like, soul.
Yeah, your energy Akashic records type thing.
Yeah.
Or we can figure it out together. People will start
And
bringing
yeah,
little
we can
pieces.
put all our information together, and I'm sure that there's a way to figure that out. It's just a matter of everything being in the right place at the right time.
It'll unfold.
Yeah.
We start creating communities like this, and Lemuria, supposedly the last piece that exists of Lemuria is California. A little bit of Oregon and California, and Shasta is like one of the areas where they dug under the ground and hid some of the.
Well, that would make sense because, the original California was an island way off in the ocean, which we only see like the mountaintop peaks, which is like Catalina Island and all that. So the California that we have isn't the real California, but if you look at that whole west coast, it's a giant mermaid with a baby at her breast.
Yeah, I've done some videos on California and the geology that appears out of the hills, the mountains. There's actually a snake. Where Silicon Valley is like the mouth of a snake, and the newspaper there is called the San Jose Mercury News, and they found mercury.
Really?
What would be considered like the throat area. That's the largest mercury mine that they found, other than.
Things. But basically, it's like they were the survivors when the continent fell and was destroyed. They were the survivors, and they spread throughout Asia and North America, Central America. So all these, like the native bloodlines, Hawaiian bloodlines, Asian bloodlines, possibly, kind of Tartarian, sounds Tartarian. And who knows, maybe also the Scythians, the Aryan folk, yeah. Because there's like all kinds of evidence that they've been around in North America too, right?
And then there's some speculation that it's the intelligent AI that's trying to intervene. So,
Yeah, Cynthia Sue Larson talking about that too, that possible reality of AI taking over. I think that's totally in play already.
Which also makes the whole timeline merging thing kind of strange, because if you consider, did it happen when they merged? Did it happen before the merge? And is that why there's so much confusion and we can't straighten out either timeline history?
Right. What I'm concerned about is the more energies and souls there are for one certain kind of reality, the more it will become this consented reality. And what I'm concerned about is like all the people that are pumped full of fear and misinformation right now. And they're like just giving all this unconscious energy. But
you
then
don't have to worry about that, because when one conscious person hits a certain energetic level, they begin to clear and lighten the load for a grand majority of people around them. I think someone gave the figure of like one person can lift the whole reality complex for 100,000 others.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say probably one conscious person is the equivalent of like, I don't know, several hundred unconscious people.
Yeah, that's what I've heard as well. Like, I don't know if that actual number is accurate, but that's what I forget where I heard this from too. And I was like, that's interesting because that does fall in line with the whole, just base level hundredth monkey effect that we do see going on, right?
Yeah.
So, and the whole spreading of consciousness, like in an organic telepathic manner where enough people get it and all of a sudden it starts occurring to everybody else. So, there's that as well.
What do you guys think of Califia and Kali?
I think that might be the mermaid that makes up the whole west coast of Canada and America and Mexico.
Do you think Kali?
Oh, you mean coming? Oh no. I just think that's the mermaid. I think that's Khalifa or, what.
Do you think there's a connection between Kali, Katakali, the time period, and Kali herself, and Califia, and the connection with the?
I don't know, but that is an interesting connection.
Because we call California Cali, right? And it's Cali.
That's
Kali
right.
is Kali. They symbolically show a lot of similar features. It's a warrior woman, right? Dark. It's like a
It
black
makes
Amazon.
sense because this whole west half of the United States is all volcanic fields. So partially it's fertile and awesome, and the rest of the time it's like a fucking war zone with the volcanic whatever going off in the earth.
Yeah, it's very Kali-like, and then the fact that she has a connection to the moon, Saturn, and Mercury is kind of like the child, and it's the messenger and information. And how I was saying, San Jose, Silicon Valley is Mercury connected, and it's the throat of the snake, and Guadalupe is the Virgin Mary, which is also connected to the Kali,
Oh
Califia
wow, that's a
character.
lot of synchronicities.
Yeah, I've researched this for a while, so there seems to be a connection between Washington, D.C. being on the border of Virginia and Maryland, which is the Virgin Mary, and they use on top of the Capitol building, it's a warrior, a female warrior, and then directly across, pretty much almost at the same exact latitude, is at least Sacramento through San Jose. San Jose was the old capital of California, and then they moved it up to Sacramento, the Sacrament. And this is named after Califia, which is a warrior princess. So it's like these two warrior queens or something. And then they associate them with black, which is Saturn, and Saturn's a female, and she's the judgment. And this is related to the Lady Justice
Oh whoa.
holding the scales, right? That's the two scales on both sides. And this also wraps into this dragon thing that I was telling you guys about, and how America was represented by a snake cut into 9 pieces. Originally, that was the 9 original colonies, and then it ended up being 13, and how they used the 13 in a circle of stars, which is the dragon or the Ouroboros eating its tail, which is usually a dragon, or a dragon chasing a snake. And then there's always like a winged character on top, and Mercury holds the caduceus, which is the 2 snakes that wrap up, that go up to the winged bird-like thing at the very top. And
I've got that tattoo.
yeah, so it's all interconnected. I got quite a few videos that go into different aspects of it. I even had to take a couple down. I was getting threatened.
You just made a link in my mind, though. Have you
Just something.
seen that recent video from WSO talking about the black sun or the dark sun, and that like we might actually be in a binary system sun-wise? So if Planet X is actually the black sun, the unseen sun, but it's black, and there's all these cults that come up that worship this sort of thing. That would also tie into what you're saying here about the whole Khalifa.
Yeah.
And that also ties into what I'm telling you about the Drakkenberg thing, where there's like that all of that alchemy was supposed to be like the ascending, like the, you know, the bloodlines like mutating for the better, but it was hijacked also. And then there's always like the whole Kronos versus Zeus kind of thing, father son, like yeah. Oh my gosh, I think
Yeah,
that's
that's
connected.
Jupiter and Saturn's connection also.
Exactly.
They're the chronicators together. Chronicrators.
And that's kind of what Jesus was always talking about, was like the false light versus the actual initiation, the true initiation.
The double dragons is how it is. They're two brothers, or like twins. They're double dragons. One's good and
And
one's
Leo
bad.
and
Who-
Vinci.
Yeah, and Bruce Lee was born in San Francisco, and he talks about Enter the Dragon. I think he was symbolically trying to show some connection with the dragon in California, and especially the Bay Area, and how the internet was going to be developed here, and that was going to get us to all be able to communicate.
Wow, that's good.
Well, shit. That's brilliant, man.
He was also
I
born
like
during
that.
the conjunction. Bruce Lee was born during one of these conjunctions, Saturn-Jupiter conjunction that was
And
took
I
place
bet
in
everybody's
1940.
birthday. I mean, oh my gosh, you guys need to follow Lavette, because she's on it. She's tapped in. And yeah, I think if everybody looked at their birth dates and their, like, not the sidereal, not the tropical astrology, but the
Like Vedic?
alchemical astrotheology one, I think that
That's
would be
Vedic,
interesting.
right?
Yeah, but I don't think Vedic is like completely because their 0 degree is still in Aries, and that was like 3,000 some years ago where that was true. And they don't take into account Neptune and Uranus and Pluto.
Yeah, there's a guy. His name is Vic DeCara. I followed Lavette for a while. She tried to tell me that I'm in a different sign, and it's not true. If you follow Vic DeCara, he explains it very very well, that the Vedic has always truly followed the tropical, and everybody really follows the tropical. The sidereal was only used to follow constellations and to place nakshatras. And if you really read the Vedas, that they changed where that position was whenever the tropic would change, whenever we would go out of that constellation, they repositioned it, because they're actually following where the seasons are at. It's more important to follow where the seasons are at, because the planets and the sun is actually their energies are more potent and closer to us, and actually pertain to who we are more than distant constellations. But the only reason they associated anything with those distant constellations was because they aligned at one time. And then they constantly change it through the Vedas. They don't keep it in one area. So we always have moved, that the Gregorian calendar has moved to make sure that we stay in alignment with the seasons. So the tropical is actually the true way to find out what your energy is, because it's based on where you're at and how close you are to the sun, what angle you are to the sun, and where how close it is. Because we don't go in just an exact circle around the sun. We get closer during winter, and we're further away during summer in the northern hemisphere.
Okay, so you're saying that tropical is following the actual angle.
Yes, because tropical is saying that it means sun. It means that you're following where we're at in conjunction to the sun. The distant constellations were only a marking place, because when the sun was rising on the horizon, they were looking at the constellation behind it, and it was a way to mark that, because it stayed constant enough for a long enough period of time. But after it started changing and shifting out of there, you can see in the Vedic literature that they started shifting it. They were like, okay, it's got to change now. It was here with this star and this constellation, but now it's not, so now we shift over here. That's why the constellations have gone out of place, but it doesn't mean that you aren't all the things that they say that you are when they first started associating those things with those constellations. Even though the constellations have moved away, that didn't matter. That was just a placeholder. What really mattered is that they were finding all these things that would happen during those periods of time. So now, even though the constellation doesn't align with, let's say, if you're born in Aries, even though the constellation isn't Aries behind you, if you're born in April, you're born in that time period, that wasn't the important thing. The important thing is what they were finding would happen during those periods of time, what kind of personalities would come out. So really, you were getting that personality from the sun itself and the angle you were to the sun, and also where all the other planets were in that birth chart that you have.
Okay, so who is it that you said, can you write in Tartary radio chat that guy's channel? Because I've been I don't understand astrology at all, and I've always kind of been back and forth with which, I want to research that.
Yeah, I'm confused because I originally thought I was a Capricorn, and now with sidereal, I'm like Sagittarius, and I identify with both. So I'm so confused.
Because I know Western is kind of crap, basically.
Yeah, if you were a Capricorn in tropical, like that's what it says you are in Western, you are a Capricorn in real life. Like the Vedic literature is actually, if you read it really well, it's actually saying that they always follow the tropical, but they also had a sidereal way of looking at the constellations where they put nakshatras, where there's a specific god that was split into 3 of those, and then they even fine-tuned it even more. But they also have shown through their literature that they changed it depending on the era, because there's thousands and thousands of years of the Vedic information, and so it's not consistent throughout all the Vedas that they just always had it in those constellations. They moved it as it moved, so they showed that they were actually following the tropic. They were following the sun. They weren't following those constellations. They just placed certain things in those constellations. So Victor Kara goes over, he has lots of people come on to his show and discuss all this, and he goes over it in really good detail. He explains it very well, why we should be following the tropical and not the sidereal. The sidereal is...
You just blew my mind. Okay.
See, that's good to know, because I was always under the impression that Western astrology was more or less crap to some extent, and that Vedic was much more accurate, but I never really understood the full differences. And yeah.
It's because anything that's closer, any body that's closer in science, right? Anybody that's closer has more of an effect on you than any distant body. The constellations are way too far away.
Logically, yeah.
So they only have a little bit of an interaction that would cause any kind of difference in our personality. The most important thing that makes our personality is where we're at compared to the sun. And then the planets also, depending on their position, will change little things within our personality. That's why there's differences between people that are Aries and different things between people that are Capricorn and all this stuff. But they made sure with the Gregorian calendar, they actually got out of sync like 11 days, and they made sure to put it back because they wanted to make sure that the feast days were celebrated on the exact same time period that it should be every year. They didn't want that to get out of sync, because eventually we would be celebrating feasts that were supposed to be in winter. We'd be celebrating them in summer if we just kept on going. You know what I mean? So they've made sure to keep those things in sync, because it also aligned with agricultural things. All kinds of stuff was needed to make sure that we kept those things aligned. So the Western astrology, which is considered tropical, is actually in line with the Vedic and every other astrology of all the world. They were all keeping it changing as the constellations moved out of position. So it's a misnomer. It's more of a new age thing that they're trying to make us believe that we're another sign or something. It has no real proof behind it.
What do you think of Ophiuchus?
Sorry, what was that?
What do you think of Ophiuchus, the 13th sign that they're trying to smash right in between Capricorn and Sagittarius?
Yeah, Ophiuchus is actually showing this time period. So what happens, what really should be followed, the whole thing about the sidereal and the constellations, is the fact that we're we're declining in the way, the angle that we are to those constellations. So eventually Ophiuchus isn't one that's getting smashed in. We're just changing our viewpoint. Now we're going, because the constellations, if you really look at them, they're varied. They're not like this straight line that goes across the horizon. They're actually up and down and all kinds of stuff, and they're just kind of trying to fit them in there.
We've known about it for a long time, for like thousands of years, but the sun would only be in Ophiuchus for like 13 degrees, so it wasn't like long enough time for it to be considered part of the zodiac, right? And now it is.
Yeah, so now it's not, now it's a part of the zodiac, and this is the way that I think about it, and I think that it should be thought about, is that now that energy has come into play because the angle that we've dropped into, now it's there, and now it's saying that that energy is coming to light. It's a time period where we can control that snake. So Ophiuchus is holding this dragon or this snake, right? So this goes into what we're speaking about us becoming controllers of that dragon energy.
Wow, coming full circle right there.
So the founding fathers knew about this. That's why they made the first American flag with the 13 stars that goes in the circle. That is the sign of Ophiuchus, of this Ouroboros, of it eating its tail. And they knew that this was the land of the dragon, the Amaru dragon, and why they call it we're the Americans, right? And they knew that California has this dragon geology in it. The Rosicrucians, the secret societies, all of them knew about this, and they placed their headquarters here. At least the Rosicrucians have their headquarters right in the center of San Jose. It's in Silicon Valley, and the county is Santa Clara County, which is the St. Clair's, is the Templars. The Templars are here. The Catholic Church is here. The Jesuits, all that. They marked this place, and they actually did a ritual at the Golden Gate Bridge, because the Golden Gate is an Egyptian gate of the gods, and they did a ritual at the end once they so they started the Golden Gate Bridge on January 5th. January 5th is actually the Epiphany night. That's the sudden appearance of Jesus. So once they finished building the Golden Gate Bridge, they did a ritual with the Masons and the Shriners and all this stuff before they opened it up to the public, showing the last temptations of Christ. He goes past all these stations that are his temptations, and they believe that this is the final destination, that the second coming, or this thing that can control the dragon or whatever, is going to come into position, and it's going to come here, and it has to do with the internet, connecting everybody so that it can interact with everybody. Something of that sort.
That makes perfect sense. And then North America, the Native Americans, they're like the eagle, air, Aquarius, the era of Aquarius.
Yeah, yep. So Aquarius and Capricorn are actually, they were originally one sign.
Yeah,
so Aquarius represents heaven, and Capricorn is earth, so it's heaven on earth, and they're both ruled by Saturn. So they're one sign that comes. Levette talks about it, where it's going to come into this time period, and it's actually one long time period that brings heaven to earth.
Full circle. The dragon. Oh my gosh. I don't even know. I've got so many thoughts right now, guys. Amazing.
Voice recorder. It's a free app. You're gonna need it. Record this stuff.
Yeah, so I'll put the videos. I made videos on all these connections and how it connects to Quetzalcoatl. That's why the Quetzalcoatl character is related to Jesus and Christ, and then the dragon, and why people don't know, like, is Jesus the devil, or is he God's son, right? There's always this confusion. There's these two sides to it. There's always two sides of the coin. There's always this confusion of what's wrong, what's right, what's up, what's down, what's left, what's right. They're twins. They probably look exactly alike. Their energies are very similar. It might be that he's both, right?
That might explain that being that was having the Aztecs wander around through the desert and doing the whole Ark of the Covenant shit, but in a really negative way over here.
Yeah, I mean, all this stuff is connected one way or another because it's also considered the trickster god, right? And it's trying to get something out of us. It has to,
Yeah.
negativity has to exist for there to be good, and so it has to try to trick us to see if it can get the truth out of us if we're going to do the right thing under those tricks. So it's not bad for doing the tricks. You're bad for sinning and not doing the right thing, even though you know it's wrong.
Yeah, so you're bad for abdicating your own power and just blindly following like the Vatican wants.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be able to sacrifice yourself for the truth if that's what it takes. That's kind of what the Jesus story is just you got to know that no matter what, you got to follow the truth, that it's not worth selling your soul just to live a little bit longer because we're all going to die. You know, it's the Braveheart story. Like any of the hero stories, it's always the same thing of, are you going to succumb to the evil or are you going to do better?
Tartary. Shit.
Wait, what?
Sorry, my mom is vacuuming, so you can't hear a goddamn thing. I was saying Braveheart is totally part of the Drakkenberg bloodline, and
Yeah.
within the
Ah.
there are the pedo elitist fuckers, and then there's I honestly think people like us, all of it. I think everybody on the Tartary is some way or another related to this bloodline, which is actually within the bloodline. Jesus and Mary Magdalene are a part of it, and Pharaoh, and like yeah, yes.
I agree, and I believe that there's been treasures that have been put away. You know, the movie National Treasure and the Da Vinci Code and a lot of these, yeah, a lot of these different um, movies and books and stuff that are written about these secret societies and these hidden treasures. They were actually put away for our generation. They knew that there was going to be a time when we were going to come under this issue, this double-edged sword, and we were going to have to battle evil and the powers that have taken control. And so they left us these treasures behind. But the only way that we're able to get them is if we work together to figure out the secrets of how to unlock them. But they're there. There's ones in India that were left by Vishnu in Vishnu temples. There's ones all over Europe. There's ones here in America. They can be found, but it's going to take a group of people that are able to decode things and understand some of these more deeper esoteric truths to find it together and unlock it together.
Absolutely, and that's what Levette talks about with who is Anubis. His body was cut into many pieces and spread throughout the world. But Isis put all the pieces together except for the phallus, and that's why they have all these fake phalluses, and they erect the churches on top of the pyramids and.
Mention of the Priapus cult that Flat Earth British was just talking about recently. Oh my god.
It's the tabernacles, you know, where they're trying to do the false initiation, but the true initiation doesn't require a temple. The third eye does not have a temple, right?
Well, technically it does. It's the skull, like the dome.
True, but you know, it's not like your two other eyes where you have.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding.
It's the false phallic. That's what I'm saying. That's why I think it's interesting that you see some Jews with like the little box, you know, the box on their forehead. The tabernacle.
See, we can put it together. We have to all work together and we can put these things together. I say that there's going to come a time here soon, and it might happen as these conjunctions start to unfold, where we all need to get together and go and search for these treasures so that we can create heaven on earth. We need to have some sort of energetic ability to sustain our community in a closer ratio to each other so that we can unfold the true nature of what this earth should be, which is heaven on earth. And we can't do it without those treasures, and they knew it and they hid them away from us. But we have to figure out how to get them. First, we got to figure out how to get together and make it happen. And then we have to figure out how to go there and unlock these doors and all this stuff. They're under secret chants and all kinds of weird stuff.
I'm on board. It's definitely better than working a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah, that's just the Satanist, the devil, the control system that is in place that is just testing us. Like, we have to, at a certain point, take that leap of faith and work together on something larger, or just, we're going to sit here and twiddle our thumbs and work away at just nonsense for this beast system, this devil system, just to slowly kill us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's that whole parasitic draw off all their energy any way you can kind of thing. So.
Yeah, that's what they're doing to the children. They're just siphoning their blood force, their life force.
I believe that. Sorry. I believe that dragon energy is going to do that. The negative side of it, the testing side of it, is going to keep doing that until we get pushed so far that we have no other choice. Either that, or we can make the decision at any time, but most people aren't willing to because they've been comforted by the situation or whatever, or it's not bad enough yet, and so they haven't taken any steps to move forward. I guess it'll force us to be desperate enough to really just take those leaps of faith, because right now we're too scared because, we got enough and we can do this and we can do that. We give ourselves excuses not to really make this world a better place. And it's pushing and pushing and pushing, and it's going to keep getting sicker and weirder and, more murderous until we do something.
Yeah. But we actually can't focus too much on that negativity aspect. I mean, I think we have to be ready for it, but it's just like, it's strange when you start to figure out that not everyone walking around is actually human. And technically, some of them aren't really there. It's just like the weirdest ass thing. So, like, if you think about it, like, if we're the ones that are making the change and we're, like, organic and we're real and they're not, they're just going to go by their programming until enough of us energetically shift it where they have to kind of either die off or go along with us, kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree that there's entities that are probably either controlled, manipulated, their soul's been taken. I don't know exactly how to think of what exactly they are, but they're always going to be in opposition and take the satanic side, and there's going to be some sort of war. It doesn't have to be physical or whatever that's going to have to take place. We might just gain enough power and enough control.
I like the term NPC. It's easier.
I know it's happening. I mean, in my local community, we had, it's crazy because 10 years ago, a similar thing happened where there was a drunk driving accident and it killed some kids. And it was a huge hit to the community, to the local community. It made the news. It was a big deal. And so recently we had another incident. And this time it was a rapper in Albuquerque that is like, he talks about sobriety. He talks about, don't abuse your wife, take care of your kids. And that's a big deal because Albuquerque, like New Mexico, is one of the worst, probably the worst state when it comes to addiction and crime. I mean, probably not the worst, but pretty bad. And so he died, and my friend was severely injured, and he's like a huge part of the community. And I honestly think that there is a spiritual warfare happening constantly where we're losing, like both sides are losing people, and it's happening right now. And we're there is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. It's numbing everyone, right? It's changing the way that we look at it. It's either going to numb you or it's going to get you more accelerated towards doing something about it, and definitely I believe any kind of communication and community and growing closer to the people that seem to care and are showing it and are trying to research and find out these truths and you know, working together to make something happen is important, because we can manifest. When Jesus spoke about being able to manifest whatever you want, and to if you want to move that mountain, he was talking about a generation to come. He said that there's going to be a comforter, there's going to be a this thing, I have to go away and this thing will come, and it'll speak about the same stuff that I did. During that generation, you guys as a generation will be able to move a mountain if you wanted to. It wasn't the individual. That would be too chaotic for any individual to have much power just to think of something and then it'll move and everything. Everybody would just be, that everything would be so etheric and liquidy and stuff like that. It wouldn't be solid. That's not what this world is about. It's about us physically being able and being more and more able if there's more of us. And as we get closer and we unite, it's all about uniting and under the same understandings.
And utilizing law of attraction. And here's the thing, I like to encourage people to like use your natural spell casting abilities. Like I like to, like some people say pray. I don't really like pray, but pray over people or invoke over them favor, love, gratitude, like the good things. You spread it around, it comes back to you. It's like a protection and everyone benefits. And, you know, we're so used to getting mad and cussing for no dang reason at people or muttering under our breath. I mean, why can't we say the good things? Say the good things. Say it over yourself, you know?
Yeah, be positive towards the positive, right? And you let the negative be negative with themselves, you know what I mean? They'll find themselves, and the positive we'll find ourselves, you know what I mean? And this is part of it. Groups like this, the Tartary, you know, any of these communities that we're creating on YouTube and stuff like that, we have to pull these people closer and closer, keep in contact with them, and, you know, make sure that we're positive towards them, and we always bring them positive words and positive thoughts and all this stuff, and we can bring ourselves up while the rest of the world and all the negative brings themselves down.
Yeah. Okay, so I've been telling everybody in the Tartary this, so I'm going to tell you all. So, like, as some of you know, I'm an artist. I make art, and I want to continue to produce art that basically ties in everything that is discussed on the Tartary symbolically as best as I can. And in order for me to do that, I need help to learn better how to use color and symbolism to tell a story, like, and to encode it so that it's like magic. It's like magic.
A talisman.
And so, yeah, like talismans, but it could be like, you know, I wanna highlight like the Moors, the Romanovs, the Scythians, you know, everybody, different cultures, different, like the airships, Starfort, mudfloods, like Titans. I want to
don't the colors themselves already tie into like the chakra system energetically?
I'm sorry, what?
Every beam, don't the colors tie into the chakra system energetically? Like each bandwidth of color is a frequency of light, and it holds certain characteristics, kind of.
Yeah, totally. And I've got like a good foundation with that, and just natural color theory. It just is like that. You know, I'm subconsciously able to do that, but I want to more consciously create content that has a lot of information in it, symbolic information, but I just don't understand or know enough to really like tap in as well as I want to. So I invite everybody on the Tartary, if you ever find anything, any image or whatever that you think could be helpful in that sense, I was really hoping I could get people to just send me stuff, and so that I can continue to develop that, you know.
Okay.
And then I can make t-shirts. Andreas can make t-shirts for the Tartary or whatever, you know. Everybody, like, we can. I want to contribute that to the Tartary.
That's something that I bugged Andreas about before. Andreas, I know you're listening. About finding out what the cymatic frequency is for each of the star forts, what that is meant to reproduce and induce within it. Because if you can find if you can figure out what that harmonic does, then you could, you know, encode it with the coloring, and you can combine it with the other elements esoterically that would help convey that in a more visual manner. Because the star fort itself would be the cymatic signature that's programming the water in your body anyways. So I'm hoping it's a good signature, whatever it is that we're finding.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. And I just need help understanding, like getting on that tip with you guys and then actually creating art from that. I don't know, did you see the first, I already made one Tartarian painting. I don't know if anybody saw that.
I don't think
And you'll see what I mean. You'll see where I'm coming from and what I'm trying to do, because my art it's aesthetically pleasing to just anyone, because it's like I usually paint pretty girls and it's just pretty. So it's accessible to people that don't really have any connection to the, because it's just nice looking.
dark. And she's the sun. That's nice.
Kali actually was she was the anger in essence of like God or whatever. It's Shiva's wife, or it's a representative Shiva. Shiva's breaks himself into a male and female.
We're gonna cut out the bullshit. Destroy to create.
Yeah, she destroys demons. So she was killing all the demons, and then she was so angry as she was destroying all the demons. That's why she has so many arms and so many weapons and stuff like that. It represents Mother Nature, all kinds of stuff. But after she was done destroying the demons, Shiva had to go and lay down in front of her, and that was the only way she calmed down, was because he was like, "You're done destroying the demons. It's over. Now you're going to destroy the rest of the earth," because she gets so upset or whatever. But that she's not evil. She was just killing demons.
Oh,
Yeah.
so she's kind of a badass.
The dark side of the mother.
Yeah,
But
exactly. The protective mother.
Okay. So she's like the ultimate representation of an unbalanced divine feminine.
Yeah, and she's trying to come back to balance, but in order to do that, she has to cut the bullshit.
Yep,
Nice.
exactly.
But yeah, if anybody has anything that you think would be helpful for me to create more
Dude,
tart.
I love your art style. That's awesome.
Thank
Is
you.
that your art? That's
Yeah.
your art there?
That's my art. That's
Oh,
my
man,
first
thank you.
Tartary. Got the airships, got the Earth, the star forts, the giants castle, the volcanoes.
You
Romanov
definitely need to make
princess.
some gear. You need to design some gear. That would be amazing.
That's what I'm saying, is like I could really contribute to, like, we could get merchandise going, which would help me personally too, because I'm trying to get my art out there. And if I can contribute to something I really believe in, like, that's what it's all about, really. Like, I want my art to have like a good influence. So if we can make, like, I want to collaborate with the Tartary to make gear for the Tartary, to fund or whatever, just get it out there. Or, I mean, there's so many possibilities. We're talking about coming together, community efforts of people, sovereign individuals that want to see a better reality, that want to usher in a new era. So I'm just putting out the call of, like, this is what I can do, and this is what I want to do.
Many birds, one awesome artistic stone.
Mar, you can also do tarot cards. You should do your own tarot card deck.
Yes, I would love that.
I really want to do that. Oh my God,
I would
tarot.
so buy that.
I want to tap into all of that, and yes, that's my call. That's what I'm trying to call in now, at this point in my career as an artist. That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. I really like it.
I'm totally on board for this.
A Tartarian Star Fort Titan tarot deck.
No, exactly, because there's a couple tarot decks I've been drawn to, and they have distinct Tartarian flavors in them. I've noticed that. So yes.
Hey, you can even make specific talismanic paintings for people that fits their birth chart and their numerology and their time period and all that.
Yes.
Their Mayan and all that. So you just put it all in one picture, and then you can sell it to them, you know,
And
on
then
a T-shirt.
Oh my God.
and they're looking at it like that's doing something positive to their environment, and it's aligning them to themselves. Like that's what I'm saying.
Well, you should do it for each one of the people on Tartary. Offer it to everybody and have them, you know, put down their information, and you know, we can even help find out what all the symbols are for the planets and all that stuff that kind of govern them more. And then you can put together a specific painting for them, and then they can order a T-shirt or something.
So it's advertising, and it's also personal self-expression, but then it's also, you know, funding the cause and funding a local artist all in one. This is so awesome. I love this.
Yeah, and we're putting into practice, we're taking action. Like it's a collaboration to do that. So everybody's practicing, like, you know, investing in something better. We're all just like laying the groundwork for even bigger stuff. And really, it's like all the little things are what create the big things, right? So if I start doing that, then somebody on the Tartary here is going to have some other idea that is like also pretty awesome, you know, and it could just be building.
That sounds like a good idea. I like it.